Okay, for the first question on the worksheet, it says use the diagram to the right to answer these questions. And part A says express the vector f in terms of a and b. Okay, so here's our vector f, and then a and b are right here and here. And since if I follow a then b, f is the vector that runs from the tail of where I started, right, the tail of a, to the tip of where I end, right, the tip of b. Based on our discussion in the last video, f is the vector sum of a and b, right? So follow a, then b, the resultant vector is f. So f is a plus b. All right, cool. For part B, it says express the vector e in terms of d, g, and h. Okay, so e is right here, and here is d, and g is here, and h is here. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to go ahead and look at negative g, so that just turns g around, right? So g points to the left, so negative g points to the right. And negative h, likewise, will point to the right, since h points to the left. And now note, if I follow negative g, then negative h, then d, the resultant vector that runs from where I started, which is the tail of negative g, to where I stopped, which is the tip of d, that's the vector e. So put another way, e is negative g plus a negative h, which is the same thing as just subtracting h, and then plus d. Okay, now note we could also rearrange and say that e is d minus g minus h. That's also a way to write that. Cool, and then moving on to part C, it says express the vector c in terms of a, b, d, and e. Okay, so here's our vector c, and then a, and then b, and then d's down here, and here's e. Okay, so one way to do this is to follow a, then b, then c, then d, and then negative e, which points in the direction opposite e. And that's going to land me right where I started. In other words, I create a loop here, right? And since for the resultant vector, right, I really wind up at just this one single point, the tail of a, where I started, I can say that a plus b plus c plus d minus e is the zero vector. Okay, now to write c in terms of a, b, d, and e, I'm just going to move all the other stuff, right, that's not c on the left to the right, and I get that c is e minus a minus b minus d. Okay, so that would be one way to solve it. A slightly different way, it's pretty similar, but it's a little different, is to say the following, right? If I do a plus b plus c plus d, okay, and I stop there, then the resultant vector would run from the tail of a to the tip of d. Oh, well, that's just the vector e. So in other words, a plus b plus c plus d, that's equal to e. And then just like we did in this solution, just move everything that's not c on the left side over to the right, and we arrive at that same conclusion. All right, cool. Well, that does it for this one. I'll see you in the next video.